What's the difference between a macaron and Macron?
Guys, you got him. You got him. A Macron, a Macron. Wow, wow. You guys are oof, oof, oof. Guys, you know what the joke is? The joke is that they sound similar. Okay, that's the guys get it? Did you guys get it? That's the funny part. That's the funny part. Okay, the funny is like one sounds like that. You got it? You're with me? Okay. Yes, yeah, you're right. Oh, Mrs. Apostle Prophet is here. Yep, yeah, I guess, yeah. Like, actually, you're right. We shouldn't discourage them. Yeah, keep doing that instead of murdering us. Thank you. Still better than murder. Yes, exactly.
This macaron is for one consistent, whereby both faces are the same. While President Macron, on the other hand,
Oof, so clever. So President Macron is a two-face, but this Macron is like the two sides are the same. Okay. I don't know if that's a good thing. Okay. I'm pretty sure if one side was red and the other side was green, it would still be okay. Actually, what you're holding in your hand is full of sugar. I wouldn't recommend using that as a thing that you want to be endorsing.
is completely inconsistent and holds many different contradictory faces.
Guys, try to cut down sugar from your diet. It's not really good. It's really bad. It's worse than cocaine.
For long, Macron has positioned himself as the face of freedom of speech. He has aggressively defended the right to insult the sacred symbols of Muslims and even allowed for such insults to be projected onto government buildings.
Oof, this was so good. Allowed as in like what? Do you think this should have been banned? Like this was not, the government itself did not do this. Average people, private citizens decided to do this. And what did you want the government of France to do? To come and say like this is not allowed? Why? It's not the law. Why would they ban it? Why would Macron step in and be like, oh yeah, you're not allowed to do this? Imagine if he actually did that. Imagine these people like criticizing Macron for not stepping in to stop the projection of the cartoon on the building. You guys are idiots. Really? You thought that the logical thing for him to do was to step in and go against all of France's laws and stop this? So you're not even criticizing him for doing something like this. You're criticizing him for not stopping this? Are you guys serious?
Yet, when it comes to insults hurled,
It wasn't done by Macron's government, but I wish it was done. Like it wasn't the federal government that decided to do this himself. But I mean, if it was, I would be like, yes, thank you.
against his
And celebration of freedom of expression, that would be amazing.
comes to insults hurled against his leadership and his country, Mr. Macron has a very different face. For example, following President Erdogan's suggestion that Macron needed mental treatment for his harsh behavior towards Muslims, the French president's office quickly censured him for his unacceptable comments and immediately withdrew their ambassador from Turkey.
So you guys already know where this is going, right? You know where this is going. This is going to say like, oh, look at this French. They say freedom of expression. You should be able to insult different religions or make fun of them, cartoons, freedom of expression, this and that. But yet when Erdogan said this about Macron, they couldn't tolerate it. They couldn't handle it when he said like, oh, Macron has mental issues. They called back their ambassadors, right? We have gone enough times through this with each other on this channel for you guys to know how moronic that comment is, right? Do you understand the difference here, right? Again, they feel like they're hypocrites because they're not abiding by the freedom of expression principle, because if people can insult Prophet Muhammad, then Erdogan should also be able to insult Macron and say like, oh, he's like mentally ill and blah blah blah. Okay, so here's the thing: when we say there's a freedom of expression, you're free to insult the Prophet Muhammad or Islam or make fun of it or make cartoons of it. That doesn't mean saying the artists or content creators are free to express themselves like that. Saying they're free to do that. Again, this is very easy and very stupid, but these people don't get it. That does not mean the Muslims don't get to respond. That does not mean the Muslims do not get to complain. When we say content creators or anybody else is free to express themselves, that freedom means that they shouldn't be banned. They shouldn't be imprisoned. They shouldn't be fined by the government. They shouldn't be executed. They shouldn't be tortured. And they shouldn't be killed they shouldn't be killed in the goddamn street. Their blood shouldn't be flowing, painting the Paris streets. That's what that means. It doesn't mean that the Muslims don't get to say something back. It doesn't mean the Muslims, oh yeah, the cartoonists are free to draw the cartoons. Who on earth thinks that means that if you as a Muslim are offended by that, their freedom of expression means that you don't get to say like, hey, I didn't like that. Oh, please stop publishing that. You get to do that. That's also your freedom of expression. You could even have a protest. You could even have banners. You could even show up in front of a school and do a mini protest as long as you're not harassing anybody. You could go on social media and complain about it. You could be like, I'm pulling my kid out of the school. I don't want my kid going to the school. You could do all of those things. That is their freedom of expression, and that's your freedom of expression. You could be like, oh, let's complain to this person, or let's go and file a complaint, or let's do a petition. You could do all of those things. None of those complaints is violating the freedom of expression of the cartoonist or the teacher or whatever. You know what violates the freedom of expression of the teacher or the cartoonist? You gunning them down or beheading them, that is violating their freedom of expression. Okay? But if you want to make YouTube videos about it and complain about it, even if you're successful, like, hey, we don't like this teacher, he showed a cartoon, please fire him. And the school's board's kind of like, okay, fine, we give in to you and we fire him. Even that is within your right to do that. You could pressure them and then they fire the teacher. I mean, I don't like that, but you didn't violate the teacher's freedom of expression. The government was not involved. I mean, it's censorship and I don't like it. But again, you didn't violate the freedom of expression. You guys don't know how freedom of expression works. So if Macron is saying that cartoonists have the freedom to draw the cartoon, that doesn't mean you don't have a right to react. In the same way, when Erdogan, first of all, it's the French government response to Turkey was not just because they said, oh, he's mentally challenged, which is actually a major insult to people who are mentally ill. You shouldn't, that shouldn't be used as an insult, okay? But anyways, forget that. But it wasn't even a response to that. Turkey, as a member of NATO, as an ally of European countries, as a potential, that's far gone, but as a country that wanted to be part of the EU, that wanted to get closer to European countries, if you boycott, what do you think the reactions to boycotting French products should be? Of course it's a measured response. They haven't even boycotted Turkish products in response. That would be a much higher response, and it would be justified. And they didn't even do that. They call back their ambassadors in response to you boycotting French products. That's a very measured response. Of course they're going to do that. Do you think Erdogan's freedom of expression has been challenged because they called back their ambassador? Who's stopping him? He still gets to say what he wants. Has anybody done to Erdogan what these Muslims are doing to cartoonists? Like, oh, you guys are hypocrites. Really? You're comparing Macron calling back his ambassador to cartoonist blood being spilled in the streets, to a teacher who was standing for freedom of expression being beheaded? You're saying Macron is a hypocrite because this is somehow similar to that?